Good morning, and good morning, YouTube. Welcome to Muffin to Say. I'm excited, I think, to be here today. A little tired. It was a very, very long weekend. Following up what was a very long week last week, but I am super excited. I could not wait to get up this morning, release a new video, and then come on here and hang out and talk about stuff that, doesn't really matter, but it's a lot of fun to have the conversation. Hopefully we get some viewers popping in. We are going live in the horizontals today instead of the verticals because we're going to give something else a try. Now, eventually, I would like to go live in both the horizontals and the verticals at the same time, but one step at a time here. I tried that on Friday. It was an epic failure, and I have to work out the bugs before we do it. So we did the horizontal. Now we did the vertical. Now we're doing the horizontal, and then hopefully by the end of the week we're going to combine them both, and you're going to be able to watch Muffin to Say in any format that you want. It's going to be epic. I mean, we aim to please here at Muffin to Say. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else, we aim to please. So I hope everybody had a freaking awesome weekend. I know that I did, mostly. It was not too bad. We got Mr. Jeff Davis in the house. Hello, Davis, Mr. Jeff. Yeah, horizontal for the win. We're also rocking the Dream Theaters today. And we have Tech Examined Michael, Lego Tech, in the house, also hanging out. And we probably have some interesting subject matter today, as you see in the title. Companies have too much power. And you know what companies I'm talking about. I really didn't have to put the names of those companies in the, in there. I didn't have to. I did, but mostly just because, well, we like to handhold, and if you put those names in there, maybe it's more searchable. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm going to make the argument that it's our fault that these companies have so much power. And hopefully you guys have an opinion on this, and maybe it's even different from mine, but we shall see. I'm wondering, Mr. Jeff Davis might have popped out already, which is a bummer, because I would have liked to have had his input on the whole thing, but it is what it is. I'm looking forward to having this conversation today, and I bet you guys are at the edge of your seat just wondering exactly what I mean when I say that it's our fault. But first, let's get into exactly how they get, or they have, or they wield too much power. And I mean, the first company we could talk about is Google. Google literally has the option or the ability to control everything we see, everything we hear, public opinion, all that stuff. Because they decide in the search results exactly what we see. So they can move search results around to sway public opinion. Believe it or not, just moving something from the top spot to the third spot or the fourth spot actually changes or modifies the way that people think about certain topics. And I'm talking about topics that are anywhere from this meme is funny all the way up to presidential election stuff. So we're not just talking about trivial things here. We're talking about YouTube or Google specifically can sway the lexicon of our experience based on what they put in their search terms or the way that they order their search terms. And it certainly goes a lot deeper than that, because we know that Google is the #1 used search engine in the world. But the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube. So when Google has the ability to basically decide what you see, which they do, they absolutely have the ability. They can shadow ban, or they can just say, well, we don't think this video or this opinion has any value, so no one's going to see it. They can do that. It's really easy for them. And so they can basically decide what truth is, what we see, and what we don't see. And that's a heck of a lot of power for one company to have. But the other two companies that were in the thumbnail, Amazon and Disney, have just as much or pretty close to just as much power as Google does. For one, Amazon essentially, for one, Amazon essentially controls prices for just about every good and commodity that we see. So if you wonder why mom and pop shops can't really function or operate anymore, it's because Google essentially sets the prices on everything. And why are you going to go locally and pay $10 more for a product or a service that you can get for $10 cheaper on Amazon? Now, personally, I think there's value in going and getting it locally, first of all, because there are just things that you want right now or you need right now, and I like the ability to go get those locally. And if we don't do it, those shops are going to close. And why is it a couple of bucks more expensive, possibly locally? Well, the simple fact is that rent and owning buildings and all that sort of stuff costs money. So they have to have a building where they store items that you can go and buy, and they have to hire employees to man those buildings and check people out in those locations. So if you don't actually go and frequent the local stores, then we get less of a selection of things that we can just go buy. And there are a couple of things: video games, automotive parts, automotive tools, things like that, where if I can't get it locally, my project is on complete hold. And I know for anybody who works on cars, if you go out to your garage and you start to poke around with something, you're going to fix this or fix that, you're always going to run into something that you forgot to pick up at the automotive parts store or whatever. It never fails. Hey, Santa Claus found us. Man, it is wonderful to see you, my friend. One of my favorite human beings on the planet, Mr. Santa Claus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if we don't frequent these local stores, these local shops or whatever, even though a lot of them are still national chains, if we don't go and frequent them and maybe pay a couple of dollars more, we're going to lose them, and then we won't be able to get that stuff. Michael says, I used to like going local, but the same things are sometimes cheaper online. Plus, they aren't in stock at the store. And that's the first big problem, is that they aren't in stock. But the second part, yeah, sometimes they're going to be more expensive, but that's because a local shop has more overhead. They have to have employees, and they have to have the lease or the the money that they spend on the building. And for me, I'd rather pay a little bit of extra money to go get it locally because it keeps those things available. And if we don't, that's the reason why the local shops never have it in stock. Because, well, they're doing the same thing. They run a local business and then they just order their stuff and it gets delivered and then you can come pick it up there. Which isn't any better than just ordering it directly on Amazon. So Amazon essentially controls the prices of just about every good and service that we could possibly imagine. And now, Amazon also, and this I think is more insidious than the price control that Amazon does, but they also own such a ridiculously large percentage of the internet. How do they do that? Well, their server service. Almost every business that you could possibly imagine outside of Amazon and Google has their services that are running on AWS or Amazon's warehousing services, which is basically all the websites and all that sort of stuff, all of the apps, a lot of that stuff, they all run off of AWS. They are the biggest conglomerate of server hosting sites that are out there. So when Amazon decides that they don't like what you have to say, they can just turn you off. We saw this during COVID and the pandemic when, somebody didn't like something that somebody was saying. We're just going to make it really difficult for them to host their services by saying, nope, we're not hosting your services. So then they got to go out and look for somebody else. And believe me, I mean, there's a reason why it's difficult to find somebody else. They've got the market cornered on servers. And so that gives them a whole heck of a lot of power. And then, of course, they have their Amazon Prime, which now is basically like a Hollywood kind of setup where they're delivering movies and entertainment and that sort of thing, which gives them access to the social commentary of the day, which is also somewhat dangerous. But that brings us to Disney. Because the sheer amount of things that you see, you watch, and you listen to on a daily basis that are owned by Disney would blow your mind. I mean, from news organizations to ESPN to Disney Plus to half of the channels that are out there on cable TV, all of that media is owned and controlled by Disney. And that gives them the ability to control what you see, how you think, what social commentary is, and all that stuff. It's incredibly powerful, especially when you consider how much influence they have on the news media. Because it's not just the news media that they own. It's also, because they're so big, they control the narrative on news medias that they don't own. Because those other news media organizations have to talk about the stupid shit that Disney puts on their news media. So those three companies have more control over what you see, what you hear, and what you think than you could possibly imagine. If you even thought about the possibility of cutting Google, Amazon, and Disney out of your life, you may as well toss this thing in the garbage. And you may as well not bother ever turning on your TV. Because from ESPN to news networks and TV networks, they've got you covered. There's nothing else on. Or it's very difficult to find something else on. And even when you do, it's influenced by Disney because they are so massive. They are so massive. Yes, please hit those thumbs up. It's definitely going to help to get YouTube to hopefully share this puppy out with more people, and we can get lots of people to come in here and have this conversation. So I've explained my position on why these companies are way too powerful. Way too powerful. However, there's a reason why they are too powerful, and that is because they've managed to wedge their way into the lexicon of every human being on this planet by providing services that make our lives better or easier. I mean, with Amazon, it's blatantly obvious why. You can get literally anything delivered pretty much next day from Amazon. You never have to leave the house, and the prices are usually pretty good. So they did provide a service that everybody wants, so everybody uses it, which allowed them to grow their massive server farm service and their entertainment division and all that stuff. We gave them the money to do that. With Google, it's relatively obvious. Used to be the doorway to the internet. You get on there, you put in your search, and you're off and running. Now you can barely escape Google on the internet because of their AI and everything else. But it used to be that that was the gateway to the internet, and it was really convenient. But of course, we never understood especially when it was first starting out. We love the muffin logo. Made me think of the Muffin Man. Yeah, for sure. We never. Nobody ever cared how Google was making money because it was just really convenient to use their search engine, or it was convenient and fun and entertaining to go on YouTube. So we never thought that they were collecting literally every bit and piece of our life. And now they're in your phone if you have a Google phone, and even if you don't. So they're constantly listening, and every piece of information and data that you could possibly imagine any company having, Google has it. Google knows you better than your wife knows you, in fact. Because you're going to tell this stupid thing things you probably wouldn't even tell your wife. You're out gooning at night or whatever you're doing on your phone. Hey, it's your business, not mine. You do what you want to do. The point is, Google knows more about you than your wife possibly does. And that is incredibly powerful. They know where you shop. They know what you eat. They know what you search for. So they know what interests you. They know what you watch. They know what you say because it listens all the time. They know everything about you. They know what time you go to bed. They know what time you get up. They know what TV shows you're watching. They know everything. This phone knows everything, and all that data and information is collected, not necessarily for nefarious purposes, but for advertising to you. And those advertisements try to keep you in a specific box so that you can continue to purchase what they want you to purchase and and have a specific opinion that they want you to have, or they're going to keep pumping thoughts and stuff into your head until you think the way that they want you to think so that they can make more money or have more power and influence over you. That's just a simple fact. And we all let that stuff right into our house because guess what? It was convenient. AWS with Amazon's services and stuff, now they're getting into medical. Do you really want to give Amazon your personal private medical information? Really? Because that would be one of the last companies I'd ever want to have my personal private medical information. I don't care if it's convenient, and I don't care if it can save me money. There are just certain points where I say no. No. And of course, we all invited Disney into our house growing up as kids. My parents, Disney was a safe brand that you could be introduced to, and the movies were great, and we loved them. And then, of course, they started buying every franchise on the planet. So my favorite movie franchise in history is Star Wars. They bought that and managed to destroy it. But, they still own it. There's nothing we can do about that. All of the other brands that Lucasfilm owned, they own all that stuff too. And, it's irrelevant whether they proceeded to completely ruin or destroy those things. They still own them. And, they can do with them whatever they want. And they do. It's not just that, though. We let them into our house. My wife, me, and my kids, I introduced them into Disney. We used to go to Disneyland or Disney World once or twice every single year for all of the years where my kids were old enough to enjoy it. Every year. We spent a lot of money doing that. And so Disney knows more about me and my family than they should probably know. And, we did that. We let them in. But there's another layer to this. There's another layer to this that's even more insidious, right? So now I've just told you how we essentially let them in. So when I say it's our fault, you're saying, all right, yeah, I get it. But there's another layer to this, and there's a reason why it's inescapable. There's nothing we can do. So when I do videos like this, it's inevitable that I'm going to get people in the comments talking about, oh, BlackRock did this and Vanguard did that. And okay, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. And BlackRock and Vanguard and all those companies that invest in Google and Amazon and Disney and hundreds of other companies that have way too much control in our life. But it all comes back to Vanguard and BlackRock because they control all the money. But if you want to know why they control all the money, it's because of you and me. It's plain and simple. Because every 401k, every pension plan, every Roth IRA, they all have indexed funds. And 9 times out of 10, those indexed funds are Vanguard or BlackRock. So Vanguard and BlackRock are controlling the world, i.e. all these extremely powerful companies, with our money. With our money. And there's nothing we can do about it if we ever want to actually have the opportunity or chance to retire. It's not like you're going to go look at your pension and tell the company, hey, I don't want to make money on my pension. I want to put it in another fund like that's not BlackRock or Vanguard. Because that's what you're saying. If you decide I'm not going to use a BlackRock fund or I'm not going to use a Vanguard fund, you're literally selecting funds that are going to make you less money and make you have to wait longer to retire. And nobody wants to do that. But that's the only way that we could really fix the BlackRock wagon or the Vanguard wagon, is to pull our basically indexed fund money out of there, our investment money out of those funds, out of the BlackRock funds and out of the Vanguard funds. We pull all that money out of there. If every person that makes less than, say, $300,000 magically decided one day, I'm not investing in BlackRock funds or Vanguard funds, we could collapse those companies in 24 hours. They would be finished. And I know you might be saying, yeah, but billionaires and trillionaires, well, they invest in those companies. They do. They do. They have their 401ks in the same freaking place that we do. However, their billions invested in Vanguard and BlackRock couldn't support BlackRock and Vanguard. If the average Joe, like you and me, who makes, the bulk of the income and provides the bulk of the economy, just said, I don't want my IRAs and my pensions and my investments for my retirement in BlackRock or Vanguard funds. If everyone in the country who is of sound mind and doesn't make billions pulled all their money out of those funds, those companies would collapse. And by proxy, a lot of the companies like Amazon, Google, and Disney would have to be more accountable to us. But the problem is we can't hold them accountable because our entire retirement fund is invested in the companies that most people think are destroying our culture and, basically doing all that sort of stuff. So there's nothing we can do. It's our fault. And when you say, well, big business this and big business that, and you know what? Big business makes money so that they can feed your 401k. So they always say, well, we're just doing what makes sense for the company, or we're doing what makes sense for Wall Street. We're Wall Street. We're the investors. It's our money. So if they make decisions, let's see. So what's this? We got Richard Paul Ashley. It says, full comments what I'm thinking of. Hey, it's good to have you here, my friend. And I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong. And the problem is that my screen is so freaking far away from my thing. So I'm reading like I need a telescope to see my computer. You wouldn't get this from any other guy? I don't know. Just Rick. All right, well, thanks for showing up and hanging out, Rick. Hopefully you hit that thumbs up. I'm just stating facts. I don't like BlackRock and Vanguard controlling literally every business decision out there and everything, because they're using our money. They're using our money to make our lives worse. Basically to further an agenda that we didn't choose. But the problem is the only way to escape it is to say, I'm never retiring. I'm taking my money and moving it, I don't know, into gold or something. Well, who wants to do that? I do want to retire eventually. But I can't blame somebody else for BlackRock's power or Vanguard's power when my entire retirement basically hinges on those guys making me money. So it's nobody's fault but my own. And I bet you, if you're out there looking to possibly retire someday, it's your fault too. So that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It sucks. But, it's not like I don't know. Everybody talks about how they want to make money. They're never going to retire. We need this and we need that. So we're invested in 401ks and pension plans and Roth IRAs, and all of those use index funds from BlackRock and Vanguard. They're using our money to destroy society. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. I'll be 800 before I can retire. You know, it's actually funny. So my wife and I, we go to our financial advisor every 6 months or so. And every time we go, he says, well, you know, are you going to retire anytime soon? Or, you know, are you thinking, because of course your investment philosophy changes when you get closer to retirement. And every time we've ever gone there, both my wife and I kind of look at each other and giggle. And it's like, we're never retiring. It's never going to happen. And for the first time ever, this last time that we went to visit him, we kind of looked at our age and we looked at each other and we looked at our advisor and we're like, huh, you know what? We never actually thought seriously about this whole retirement thing and looked at our investment or anything. Like, it's never even been a question that I mean, I'm never retiring anyways because I love what I do. I love YouTube. I love creating content. I love videos. I love helping people. So I'm never retiring. However, my wife definitely wants to retire. In fact, if she could retire tomorrow, she would be out of there, taking her pension and her money and giving them the big double bird. She would be out of there instantly. So it's kind of funny that we've never really had a conversation about it. She always had the same opinion. I'm never retiring. But it actually kind of got real this last time that we went in there because it's like, I don't know, it does come to the point where you feel the creep of time. You feel the creep of age and it's like, well, my hips bother me when I walk now. And, you know, I certainly do go to the bathroom a lot more than I used to. And, boy, I get tired driving 10 hours when I used to not even think about it. So that stuff starts to creep up and then you start to think, well, maybe we should actually possibly consider this. So my wife and I actually did have to sit down and have a conversation about when we could retire and all that stuff. And we pretty much determined that it's never, ever going to be, we can't, ever. But it was nice to have the conversation. It was the first time we ever seriously talked about it. But my entire 401k and retirement and pension and all that stuff and Monica's, they're pretty much all in Vanguard funds. So I'm contributing to the same entities that I feel like are tearing down our society and trying to remove everything that we love. When you look at who's behind the whole Cracker Barrel shift, well, we've got a lot of really stupid board members and a retarded CEO, but guess who's funding it? It's BlackRock or Vanguard. Those are the guys that are contributing the investment money for these people to be able to make these stupid decisions that rip away our culture and everything else. So, you know, we can't blame them. We can't blame Vanguard. We're giving them the freaking money. It's our money that they're using to tear this stuff down. So, yeah. I do feel a little bit sorry for younger folks because a lot of them, they're not investing or they're not invested. So they don't know. And luckily, maybe watching a video like this will help them to understand why we created this problem and why the market created this problem. And that doesn't mean the market is bad. It's literally the only way where little guys like us will ever have the opportunity to retire. However, it gives the opportunity for new people to step up or find new funds or create new funds that aren't BlackRock and Vanguard. And maybe someday we can escape it because younger people who don't have a whole heck of a lot of money invested in retirement and everything like that have the opportunity to make other choices. Because unfortunately, it's way too late for me to try to make other choices. There's nothing I can do if I ever want to retire. That's just where my money is. I'm going to hope for 15% every single year and take what I get. But maybe young people will be able to find ways to use the market, or maybe even AI will find ways to use the market so that we can take that power away from such a centralized thing like BlackRock and Vanguard. If we can take that money away from those centralized entities and spread it around or put it in the hands of more individual people, well, guess what? Then we solve this problem. we resolve the issue. And maybe that means that people will have to fully take hold of their investments, and maybe through AI they invest on their own instead of using index funds like Vanguard and BlackRock. Maybe that's the route we go. Man, that would be epic, because then there's no big conglomerate company that does it for you that has so much power that you can't escape it. If young people all learn how to work the market and they do all their own investing and they hold all that stuff internally, guess what? Then that money doesn't go to a big giant pool where these big giant conglomerates can use that money to do things or force companies to do things that are, I think, in my personal opinion, not good for our culture or our country. They have too much power and there's nothing we can do about it. Let's see. AI fund, I feel weird investing in an account called the Sarah Connor Index Fund. I do too. The whole thing is if you have AI helping you make decisions, then you don't maybe have to invest in a fund. Maybe you can just buy and sell and trade on your own internally. Essentially, there's still going to be some freaking brokerage that makes all kind of money every time you buy, sell, and trade. But the point is that you're managing your own money, directly investing into the market instead of through some sort of indexed funds. And the reality is that if everybody had the time and energy to do it, all we have to do is look at what those indexed funds by BlackRock and Vanguard are doing, and we could individually invest in all those same companies. We could easily buy that stuff. Now, granted, our fees are going to be higher than what we're paying through Vanguard and BlackRock to do that because we're individual investors. But the thing is I don't know. What is the real solution? How do we take the power back? All we can do really as a person right now who's deep in the throes of the system and can't do anything about it, all we can really do is hope that young people make different decisions that strip the power away from Vanguard and BlackRock. But I'll bet you even the people that are whining and complaining on the internet and making comments in my thing, even those people, if they have any kind of pension or any kind of 401k or any kind of Roth IRA, even those people didn't actually go and look and say, oh crap, my money's all in Vanguard. You know what I mean? They're just yelling here about how evil Vanguard is and how BlackRock is, and they don't even realize it's their money. It's their money. If they want to retire, that's where that money goes. So, yeah. Jeff Davis says, AI has come a long way. It is amazing how it can carry on a conversation right now. I have a funny story. So I was trying to do a thumbnail for a video on another channel, and I literally had about a 3-hour fight with the AI just to try to get it to do what I wanted it to do. So there was a badge on one side, and there was, on the other side was an image of me with like this, and my hand was holding like the badge on the other side. And I wanted to do this thing where we would put a ball in the hand that was holding the badge and then move the badge over to the other side. And every time I tried to do this, AI would just create a third hand holding the ball. And I literally would go back and forth, and it got to the point where I was asking AI, can you please count how many hands are in that image? And it would come back and say, oh my, you are right. There are 3 hands in this image, and I know that you only have 2 arms, so you must want to have only 2 hands. We can fix this. And then they would do it again, and of course, there would be 3 hands. And nothing I could do. At one point I said, do you need me to give you a reference image so that you understand the anatomy of the human body? Because if I have 2 arms, I can only have 2 hands. And yet you continue to constantly put a third hand in this image. Well, I eventually inevitably did provide that reference image, and guess what? It didn't matter. It still put a third floating hand in the image. I don't understand it. Sometimes it gets sidetracked and it just cannot get away from whatever image. Humans are kind of like that too. We're kind of set in our ways. Once you have an idea or a thought in your head that the world is a certain way, it's really difficult to escape that. Even in the wake or the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, sometimes it's really difficult to just give up, what we think in our head. It's why, especially now that you don't actually have to ever have a conversation with another human being, you can use AI and everything else to just reinforce your beliefs, whether they're stupid or not. So it makes it very, very difficult to convince people one way or another to change their mind. It is what it is. So it is so awesome. We actually had some other people come and hang out with us on this live stream. Jeff Davis says, a friend of mine asks ChatGPT to tell jokes on his live streams. AI cannot do humor at all. Now, in one of my other videos, I actually talked about this because I don't think AI understands context at all. So there's a more recent KFC video, KFC commercial, where it says, where it says the Colonel exhaustively spent hours and hours and hours finally coming up with the 11 ingredients and spices that make up his fried chicken recipe. But he needed something to go with the fried chicken, so he invented the potato. Now, obviously, the commercial is totally tongue-in-cheek because nobody invented the potato. However, I'm not totally sure. Excuse me. I'm not totally sure that AI is smart enough to understand that the commercial is a joke and it's totally tongue-in-cheek. So 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road or even 2 years down the road, is AI going to be telling people that Colonel Sanders invented the potato? I don't think that's completely out of the realm of possibility. I just don't. Because AI just doesn't understand humor at all. Oh. Everything has to be very literal in AI. Yeah, and I think in some ways that's kind of part of I have to admit, I enjoy having conversations with AI to try to get them to bring me information or something that can help make me smarter or can help to advance what I'm trying to do on my different channels and everything else. And I use AI pretty heavily to help come up with, bullet points and planning and that sort of stuff for videos. Obviously, I use it for thumbnails and that sort of stuff because, it's just easier to have AI create thumbnail concepts that I can go back and create on my own, that sort of stuff. But, you just never know. You don't think AI will think that the commercial thing is the thing? I don't know. Let's see. I don't think AI will assume by a commercial is fact. You would think they wouldn't, but we don't know. Jeff says, has the lovely Monica been helping with this channel? She has not. The lovely Monica is so buried in work that she wishes she could retire from that no, she just hasn't gotten all that involved with this channel. But I have a funny feeling we will eventually. You never know. Oh man, you just never know. What time do we have anyways? It is 11:40. So I like to do these particular live streams until we start to get a big audience, which we will eventually. We're going to have so much to talk about. We're going to be able to come on here, hang out, tell jokes, have fun, maybe even talk about some touchy subjects, but maybe not. But I like to be able to, do this. I think I'm hoping that it grows and people look at it like a morning show where we're going to come hang out and they can participate in the content as well. We're going to add all kinds of stuff. We're going to have alerts. We're going to have masks. We're going to have voices. We're going to have faces. We're going to do all those things on here to make this like an entertaining morning show at some point. But for now, I'm just creating content to try to create an audience. So that's what we're doing. And basically, the live streams are about as long as the topic that I selected to talk about today. And today was a pretty deep one. Today went pretty far down the rabbit hole. So I don't even know how much of today's... Excuse me. I don't even know how much of today's conversation I'll be able to clip up and use, or how entertaining it will even be, because people don't want to hear that it's their fault. I don't like the fact that my entire investment goes into companies that I know are trying to destroy the fabric and the culture of the United States. I don't like it either. But we can't ever solve the problem if we don't talk about it. We can't just hide behind blinders and pretend it doesn't exist. So maybe conversations like this are things that people will see and go, well, I never thought of it that way. What can we actually do about it? Maybe something like this will help them do that. However, I don't know how that clips out into 30-second things, or whether it does at all. We'll just have to see. But it has been an absolute blast. It was awesome to get Jeff popping in here. We also got, of course, Lego Tech Mike moderating and regulating, and the great and powerful Santa Claus came and hang out. Richard came and hung out with us. So we've had actually quite a few people come and visit the live stream. By far the most successful one we've had to date on this channel, which is pretty doggone exciting, because it does mean that the videos we're posting are getting somewhere, and I do appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me. And man, it's only going to get better from here. So we're going to be around the same time tomorrow. The plan is probably for this to inevitably... I'm glad Santa uses his powers for good too, Jeff. Big time. I'm hopeful to be doing this around 10 a.m. every day, but it seems like it falls in between 10 and 11 o'clock, which is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. More than enough leeway for everybody to be able to come find us and hang out. When the audience starts to grow, I'm sure we'll basically tether it to a specific time, and it'll be that time every day. But for now, I am just so thankful that you guys came and hung out and found the channel. Man, this is an extension of my other channels, and I love the audience that we've always had, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, while you're here, don't hesitate. Leave comments in the video. Give it a thumbs up. That stuff really does help YouTube figure out who likes to watch this, and they can share it out with other people, and maybe we can grow an audience. And that's when it gets really fun. Not just for me, but for everybody. Because if there's all kinds of amazing and interesting people having conversations in the chat, it just makes for funnier moments and better conversation. So I'm all about that. Absolutely. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. You know, it's been fun. Good, be good to each other, and I will see you tomorrow morning, where we'll be talking about something I have no idea. So if you have ideas of what you want to see me talk about, or what you want to hear my opinion on, or what you want to give your opinion on in the comments, you know, peep it down in that comment section down there, because I'm always looking for topics to talk about. Love you guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.